automatically. We will see. Okay, so we are recording. Okay, I haven't looked at everyone's assignment yet, but did anyone have any trouble turning it in? Anyone not able to get it turned in just because of technical things?
No.
Okay, great. You can always send me an email. In one of my my other class, someone had trouble turning it in, so they emailed it to me. That's always an option. Eventually, I'd want you to upload it, but if it won't upload, you can always email it to me as well. Okay. I am going to figure out how we can look at all those and have a class critique, but I didn't quite figure that out this week. We will do that for other assignments, hopefully. So today we're going to focus on chapter 1, and then we will look at assignment 2, talk about that pretty quickly, because it's pretty straightforward after we look at chapter 1. Okay, so what we're going to do is everyone should have their book, get their book out and get either a highlighter or a pen. And I'm going to assign each of you guys, I'm thinking 3 words. Then you guys are going to find that in the book. They're pretty much in order. And I'm going to find it in the book as well. We're going to take about, let's say, 5 minutes for you to find the primary definition. So for example, for Nick, I'm going to give him the words typography, pictograms, and ideograms. So Nick is going to find those in the book. They're pretty straightforward. They are on the first 2 pages of chapter 1. And he's going to come up with what he thinks is the 1-sentence definition from the book. He's going to just draw, highlight it, underline, and then we're all going to share what we get and create our vocabulary list. So Nick, you have typography, pictograms, and ideograms. You got that?
Got it.
Okay. Then, and we're adding a few. Belinda, you have phonograms, relief printing, and watermark. You got that?
What was the first one again?
Phonogram.
Thank you.
Yep, phonogram, that's on page 2. Then Jenny, you've got movable type, Johannes Gutenberg, and lithography. Jenny.
All right.
Okay, so you guys can start working on that. Noah, you've got planographic printing, halftone printing, and typewriter. Just the definition of those 3.
Yeah, I gotcha.
Gotcha. Okay. Daniel, you have kinetic type, postscript font, and hold on a minute. We're going past the vocabulary. So you have kinetic type, postscript font, and the arts and crafts movement. And you know what? For some reason, I can't see someone's name. Who's AG?
That's me. My name's Ariana.
Ariana. For some reason, Ariana, my computer is just blocking your first name, and I don't quite know. So Ariana, you're doing the Art Nouveau movement. Then you're doing art posters for propaganda. And that's on page 24. And the Dadaism movement. So you're doing those.
The last one?
Dada, D-A-D-A-I-S-M. So you're doing
Okay.
Dadaism, art movie, art propaganda posters, and the Art Nouveau movement.
Okay.
Okay, so everyone get the definitions for those. We have about 5 minutes to do that, and then we'll let you guys talk to them about it. We'll build our vocabulary list.
All right, and when you say primary definition, are you referring to just using the sentences within like the body paragraphs, or are you including the footnotes?
Your choice.
All right, thank you.
People still working? We can go about 2 more minutes. Is anyone who's still working on it?
I'm on my last word.
Okay, keep going. Let's go about 2 more minutes.
Yeah, I'm still working.
Okay. Everyone done with their 3?
Yes.
Okay. Everyone turn on their cameras, if you don't mind. Great. So Nick, why don't you go first? Tell us what typography is.
All right. So typography is defined as the study, use, and design of type, and it generally deals with the reproducibility of the type. So like just the ease of and the uniformity of it being able to be reproduced. So it's usable by many.
Okay, so the study and use of type. And so while we're just so Nick has already given you the definition, that's one of our homework assignments. So you could underline that in your book, go through with him. He is on page 1, or you could write it down on your vocabulary assignment. Okay, Nick, pictograms.
Pictogram is a simplified image illustrating a specific word. And examples would be like a dollar symbol or the @ sign or a pound sign.
Right, so it's a specific word, not a idea. Specific word, right. Yeah, like picture of a dog for dog. Okay, and Nick is looking at page 2. Nick, what you get for an ideogram?
Ideogram is an image that stands for a concept of an idea instead of a specific word. And the examples in the book would be like the clay cuneiform tablets reflecting transactions.
Okay, great. And so pictograms and ideograms, we're going to come back to those because that's our first assignment is about those. But let's move on. Belinda, tell us about phonograms. Could be phonic, you pronounce phonograms as well, depending on how you emphasize the O.
A phonogram is like a symbol that represents a spoken word. And I mean, that's all I could understand from the reading.
Okay, or a sound, right?
Okay. Yeah, it represents a sound, right?
Represents a sound. It's going to be a sound or a word because words usually have sound. Okay. What is relief printing?
Relief printing is printing process in which the ink sits on a raised surface and helps with including paper money and playing cards.
Okay, so it's printing where there's some surface, could be metal, could be paper, and the ink is on top of it. Okay, what page you find that on?
Page 6.
Page 6. Okay, so that's on page 6. Okay, what'd you get for watermark?
A watermark is a trademark that's built into the paper, and with fine papers by including the raised designs in the paper modes, and it could be used you could see it through light. It's not visible unless you see it through the light.
Okay. Where do we see watermarks today? Any idea?
Most copyrighted images online.
Copyright online. So we see them on digital watermarks. Yep. Okay. What is our most famous thing that we see the watermark on every day? Maybe not every day, but a lot.
Money.
Money. Yeah. Dollar bills. Dollar bills have a lot of watermarks in them. They have always had watermarks, but now they have even those crazy digital hologram watermarks. Okay. Jenny, tell us about movable type.
It basically uses movable components to reproduce the elements of a document. And then on the book, it says printing press. It's with interchangeable, reusable letters and the appropriate inks for the process.
Okay, so when they say they're moving the type, what are they moving?
I don't know.
The letters. The letters. So the letters can move around. They got a bunch of different letters. They have an A, they have a B, and they can move them all around to create different words. Okay? So the reason that's a big deal is it used to be everyone had to print out an entire page and it wasn't movable. And this was big because you could use the same letters over and over again. Okay, tell us what who Johannes Gutenberg is.
He invented a printing press that was based on the technology of existing wine presses.
And what century was that in? About when that one, what was that?
What century?
Yeah. Or what's the date?
It's 1455.
1455. So as far as this vocabulary, that's an important date. I think it's not important to have too many other dates. Like it doesn't really matter when William Caslon was alive in some ways, but so that was 1455. Okay, so everyone turn to page 9 real quick and look at the place where Jenny found the Gutenberg printing press. So do you notice that what he printed was the Bible, and it was called the 42-line Bible. So that meant there were 42 lines on each page. Does anyone run across an instance where the number 42 is important in a movie per se or book?
Jackie Robinson.
Tell us about that.
Well, I don't know. I can just infer that Jackie Robinson's number is based off of, I don't know. I
42.
really actually.
But that was his number on his jersey, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know where he picked that number, but it could be from this. Anyone have another reference to 42 that they've heard? It's funny. It's supposed to be a funny reference. Anyone watch the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy? No? Okay. Well, Monty Python based an entire movie off the number 42, and this is where that comes from. So if you run into that, that's where that joke is from. Okay, Jenny, tell us what lithography is.
What is it again? I think I got it wrong then. Lithography?
Lithography?
Oh, lithography. Oh, I didn't do that one.
You didn't do that one? Okay.
I thought it was another word.
Let me see.
Oh, I got it.
You got it?
Yeah, I got it. It was based on treating a limestone so that it would attract ink in some places and repel it in others.
Okay.
That's
Has
on
anyone, say it again?
It's on page 16.
16, okay. So has anyone used lithography? Has anyone done that in another class? Has anyone had a printing class at Rowan Cabarrus Community College? No? So you can still do lithography. It is literally with a rock and oil print. But if you are looking at a magazine or a book these days, the printing process is called, the modern printing process, same technology as using rocks and oil paint on the rocks, but with a printing press, but it's still called offset lithography. So it's a word we're still using. The process has gotten much more modern. Okay. Let's see. Oh, and if you don't understand something that people are saying, be sure to ask up. Who is next? Who did planographic printing? Is that?
That's me.
You. Go ahead.
All right. So planographic, sorry, I had gone back here. So planographic printing is any printing process in which the ink sits on top of a smooth surface.
Okay. What about halftone printing?
Halftone printing, that would be, I'm pulling it up, is using filters to make a color separated halftone plates in red, yellow, and blue for the that makes a full color print when printed in register. Is that correct?
Okay. Yep, that's it.
All right.
And the typewriter, what the heck's that?
Okay, so obviously it's a mechanical thing, but in the book, they don't really cover that. So it's a universal keyboard arrangement that we use to produce printed material that has equal spacing for every letter.
Okay. So yeah, before we had computers, we obviously had typewriters. I am so old that when I went to college, my parents gave me a typewriter and it actually had an erasable cartridge. That was the big technological leap when I was in college, although the computers came in while I was in college as well. So halftone printing, you think there can be such a thing as just a black and white halftone? Does it have to be color?
Yeah.
What would
We
it
can
look
do
like
that.
if it's just black and white, you think?
Is it a bunch of dots or is it like the?
Yep. It's the dots. Yep. So what are the dots doing? How do the dots make it a tone?
Oh, it makes it look, what's it called? It's gradient. It looks like a gradient. That's what it looks like.
Right.
So-
So there's lots of dots, it's black. If it's very few dots or small dots, it looks white. So you're getting
Mhm.
all the variations from almost white to black through the filter or the half tone, the tones of the dots. Okay. Okay, great. Daniel, what's kinetic type?
Okay. For kinetic type, I got that throughout the 1960s, designers used incredibly creative animated line art, claymation, and photographic techniques to create daring, funny, and expressive kinetic type for hundreds of movie titles. So essentially, it's like type that's animated that moves.
Great. Are we still what's an example of where we're using kinetic type? We see kinetic type a lot right now. Like every day, I bet.
Practically on anything that's animated.
Anything that's animated. What do you see that's animated besides the computer screen you're looking at now? I mean, what out in real life, what do you see that's animated? Type-wise. The menu at McDonald's. It
I
used
guess
to be
that's
that
true.
was printed, and now it's all computer screen, and everything on the menu is animated, moving around. If it's hot, it's got little flames and things like that. So that's something I went to lately. Since the virus, every restaurant I go to now has animated kinetic type, and you just use your QR code to scan the menu. So a lot of things that used to be just flat printed are now kinetic. Okay, PostScript font. What's that, Daniel?
Okay, PostScript font. It's a font format that was released by Adobe in 1984. It's a scalable universal printing language, and it was universal, or it was revolutionary because instead of it being device dependent, it could be used for a variety of devices.
Okay, great. What was the last one I gave you?
The arts and crafts movement. I
Arts
couldn't
and crafts,
find that
okay.
specifically,
Yep.
but I took a kind of guess at it by going back a little bit.
Okay, arts and crafts. It's on page
Oh, page 21.
21. Yep.
Oh, see, I had to go back for that, and I didn't realize I had to go that far back.
Sorry.
That's fine. I just assumed they went in order.
Not quite. So arts and crafts. There is a castle in North Carolina. What is that? What's it called?
Biltmore?
Yeah, the Biltmore. The Biltmore, is an arts and crafts castle. In fact, the whole town of Asheville was built during the arts and crafts time period, late 1800s. And so everything is arts and crafts. So it's very ornate, fancy, lots of flowers everywhere, not a simple looking design. Let's see. So that is a movement. So before we go forward, and we're going to hear from Ariana last, and then I'm going to do a couple. So we're doing a couple art movements. And the reason I threw those in besides vocabulary and is that these are things people still talk about today. One, the Biltmores in North Carolina. A lot of things are patterned on that. So people will throw these art movements out and you guys need to know it just so that you don't go, huh, when someone mentions that. Ariana, tell us about Art Nouveau. Hope you guys turn your microphone on.
Sorry. So Art Nouveau originally grew out of the arts and crafts movement around 1883. And usually the designers had borrowed asymmetrical compositions, painterly outlining, curvier lineal, bimorphic shapes, and natural supernatural themes that often included imagery of essential female figures.
Okay, great. How about propaganda posters?
So propaganda posters usually had the power. So they were the power of persuasion inherent in this direct advertising style that you see on your page was evident, and all artists all over the world adopted it to promote their own promotional, social, and political images.
Great. So who's the most famous country using propaganda posters? We associate it with a particular country. Anyone?
Deutschland. Or
Yep, good old Germany. Germany definitely used a lot of propaganda posters. Besides Germany, who's the second most common country that uses propaganda posters?
China?
You know, China does it quite a bit. Who else besides China?
I want to say Russia, but I'm not sure.
It is Russia. Yep.
Oh,
Has anyone seen Revolution Brewery? Has anyone seen that brewery? You know, it's a brewery in Chicago, and several people do this, or different companies do this. So a Revolutionary Brewery in Chicago, and I need to post their link. They took Russia propaganda posters, and all their logos, their cans, their signs, their menus are all based on Russian propaganda posters. Okay. Ariana, tell us what Dada is. Dadaism.
So the first words Dada mean nothing. It was an anti-art movement, and that began around 1917. It expressed anger through creating painting, sculpture, literature, plays, and design that mocked and defied the traditional arts. Their goal was to create things without purpose to protest the banality of war.
Right. Okay. So that's the Dada movement. So I'm going to do three. So on page 27 is the Bauhaus movement. Has anyone ever heard that word before? Anyone heard that?
Like from children's book about like these dogs, they'd be like bow wow.
Well, yeah, there's that. That's definitely been a children's book. But the Bauhaus was an art school in Germany, and they were so famous. So many people came out of that house, and the things they created, they were about trying to create simplified designs. And so the reason, for example, it is used in children's books, they actually created kindergarten. So everyone wonder why kindergarten, it used to be first grade. You went to school, you started in first grade. You didn't start in kindergarten. But the Bauhaus created kindergarten and created it based on just playing with blocks and designs. So that was one of the things that came out of the Bauhaus School of Design was they added a whole grade in front of first grade, which we call kindergarten. Straight German word, but people will still talk about Bauhaus design and want things designed that way. Okay, so then Art Deco. Art Deco is on page 28. It's another art movement that people still, designers and just the general public talk about today. Art Deco was all about the time period right before the Great Depression in the 30s. So it is a time of great excess. So it's got a lot of chrome, it's got a lot of colors, it's got a lot of detail. And during that time frame, the neon light was invented. So anything neon in general is Art Deco based. So that's Art Deco. And then the very last thing, and I want to talk to someone, I forget who asked about the electronic paper.
That was me.
Okay. So then I thought we'd talk about electronic paper, which is on page 39 and 40. And that is a little confusing because that is slightly old, and technology advances so fast. That was created in the 90s, and still going on. And so one of the things I know we're still trying to do, not very well. So we have laptops, we have computers where you can write on them, and there's, Kindle books where you can write and e-signatures and that type of thing. Eventually, and what they're trying to do is create literally paper, something literally is paper thin, that you can basically almost be like a laptop screen, so that you can either write straight on it and it will keep it and you can save it, or you can put type on it. So it's just basically a type of very thin screen they're coming up with. And I don't know, it's a technology we're not using that much, although I know some people are still trying to work on that.
Like super thin tablets.
Basically, yes. Yeah. And there are some, I've seen it. I've seen a thin tablet that's even flexible. But they're not, you can't buy one except for, hundreds of thousands of dollars. So I've seen them, but they just are not very commercially applicable yet. They haven't quite get to be cheap. Okay. So one of the things about vocabulary seems dumb in a lot of ways, or people don't think they need it, but it really is one of the keys to getting a job. And what will happen is you'll be in an interview and someone will say, oh, we did this project on, based on Bauhaus, and that's a test. And if you recognize it and can throw something out and go, oh yeah, I studied Bauhaus in school and I really like blah, and we'll get into more detail on some of this as we go along in the class. I like their typefaces. I like their architecture. I like their, furniture design. Then you've passed that test. And that's one thing that will happen in interviews is if you don't recognize the vocabulary, then you don't pass the interviews. And so designers do throw that out. And typography is one of the places people use a lot of vocabulary because it is such a specialized thing. It is it's a technical part of design. Okay, so everyone's got their vocabulary filled out. You at least could have write down where it is. So one of the assignments is to I forget, was it Friday, post your vocabulary, and you have all those choices. You can just write down the definitions, whatever. See all those things. Any questions on that?
So if we submit like a link to a Quizlet, it just takes you to that Quizlet, right? And it should just be up to date and everything.
I think so. Yeah.
All right. Cool.
Put the link on there. And some people always ask me, do you want, everyone can, those are 9 choices. There's other choices. If you have another way you want to turn it in, let me know.
And are those just options, or are we going to have to choose a different option every week for vocab?
You can pick one option and go with every one, or you can change. Your choice. Okay. Questions. Okay. So I'm going to put my book away. I'm going to change gears. I'm going to talk about assignment 2. So you can look at assignment 2, but I'm going to share the screen in a minute. So assignment 2 is you're going to be designing some pictograms and some ideograms. So let me share my screen and talk about that a little bit. If the computer will let me. There we go. So first of all, I wanted to show you back to Behance. So on almost any project we do in school, there's someone, in this case myself, that actually took this project and worked on it for several years. So I became so thrilled with or interested in pictograms because I went on a trip to the Grand Canyon and there was a type of pictogram called a petroglyph. So are we all just seeing, are you guys seeing my screen? Are we all seeing, everyone can see the cave drawing here? Okay. So this is a painting I did. I did a whole series of primitive paintings. It's a watercolor painting. This is 2 feet by 3 feet. And on the petroglyphs that are actually carved by ancient peoples, Native Americans in the United States, in the rock near the Grand Canyon. So this person is a pictogram of a person. This is a pictogram of a cow, maybe a whatever. I don't know what this is a pictogram is. I thought it was a galaxy. Here's little footprints. But then when I put them all together, it's an ideogram of a voyage or a trip from this family along this river. So I did these paintings. Here's another one. It's another hunt picture. People hunting. I don't know what that is. Some of these things, these are actual images where I've changed the color, but I haven't actually changed the shape. So I use the shape, actually how they did it on the sides of the Grand Canyon, but I have changed the color and I've changed the arrangement. So then you can see I have these strange shapes, like whatever this is, the galaxy with all these animals. There's more people. I think this looks like an eye or a hurricane. I'm sure it's not a hurricane, but it looks like a hurricane. It's an eye shape probably. All these different shapes. This is actually a painting I did of how they look on the rocks in the Grand Canyon. And this is the color. They actually painted the rock blue with a type of pigment and then carved back into it. And the rock was actually pink. So that's the actual color. And then here's me changing the color. I don't know what the cross is. Different eyes, different things like that. So then here is some more, hopefully some more if they'll show up. Here are some more pictograms, Native American or primitive. You can see it's some are just straight pictograms like otter, and then this is an old person. Here's inspired, but then this is a so some of these are pictograms, some of these are ideograms. Another examples, pretty primitive ones. Then here's some modern ones. This is from Tripwire magazine, and we see these all the time. We sort of see these logos. What is that? It's a basket, or it could be for shopping. That's a thumbtack. Here's a dinosaur. So some of these are symbols. We know what that is. It's a bird or Twitter, the company. Particular logo. Here's some more. Here's some more like here's scuba diver, skier, a lot of things from the Olympics. These are like Olympics or sport ideograms. We know this one, hospital, more of a logogram, but still, Red Cross. So you can see some of them we see all the time, recycling. So this is a pictogram of arrows going in a triangular shape, but we know that means recycling. It's a tent, or we know that means camping. Okay. So pictograms are really is a fancy word, and we have used the word logo in a lot of cases instead of the word pictogram or ideogram because we love those shapes. So it's a type of logo. Obviously, the Olympics or some places we use logos all the time. We didn't get canceled like that. So on this assignment, on assignment 2, we're trying to come up with 3 different words and doing 10 thumbnails for those different words. So you end up eventually with 2 pictograms and 1 ideogram. The assignment is to do it. And I haven't looked at everyone's assignment as far as when you guys turned in your adjective, your expressive adjective or assignment one. One of the things I did is I did that demonstration last week, and then someone asked me about this. I put it in Photoshop or Illustrator and I cleaned it up. So that's certainly allowable. You can either do it on the computer, you can do it by hand, or you can do a combination of both on these pictograms and ideograms. Either one is fine. So we're doing thumbnails, we're doing 30 thumbnails, 3 different words or images, ideas. Then we're picking the best one on Wednesday, hopefully, and then doing the finals by Sunday. Questions on that assignment? If you look at the assignment sheet, which I think I have up, they show some of the similar things, the ones I showed on that website.
Okay.
Ideas or questions, go ahead.
Okay, never mind. I just read my, wait. Okay, so 20 thumbnails should be pictographs, while 10 of them should be ideographs. Is that
Correct.
what you're saying?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So you're going to pick 2 different words and pick 10 thumbnails each, pictograms, or I say grams, graphs, right? Am I saying the wrong words? Yeah, pictographs. And then 1 idea and 10 thumbnails for an idea graph, for a total of 30. Some are a little tricky. I mean, you have to explain which is an idea graph. Like, for example, you need to explain the idea graph to show that it is a concept, an idea, over just being a pictogram. Some of them are pretty similar. Okay. Questions? Other questions? Okay. So on Wednesday, what I'd like to do, if possible, I know the deadline is not posting thumbnails until Wednesday night at midnight, but if you guys have the thumbnails and post them on the discussion board, that's where we'll post those. I'll put a thing on the discussion board, then we can talk about them on Wednesday. So that's an easy thing to do, and that way I can help you pick. And that's sometimes easier. I know some of you guys on your thumbnails, we talked about it in person. So I think you get more information as opposed to me writing. Did anyone not understand any of the writing, my comments I wrote on your discussion board? I know I'm trying to write pretty quickly. Okay. You can always answer me back, and say, what do you mean, Mr. Bosby-Shell, right? If I'm not making any sense. Some of those are pretty quick. Okay, questions. So there are some great videos on the Blackboard. There's 3 videos. I think the last one's the best one. Please watch that video. That talks more about designers, type designers in particular, and we will talk more about type designers. But I would watch all 3 videos. I think they're pretty interesting. And also there's some examples. There's some examples of some websites to visit in the assignment sheet, which I did not go over. I went over some different ones. I would definitely look at those. Okay. Any questions? Is anyone trying to go to campus to pick up supplies and things like that?
Yeah, I actually got some stuff today.
Oh, good. So you just drove by and picked it up?
Yeah.
Okay. It was pretty straightforward?
Uh-huh. And is the Bristol board, is that something that's in the supply kit?
It should be.
Okay.
Yep, it should be. Also, if you want to just go on campus and use the computer lab, you can. And I believe they sent out an email to everyone about that. I may go on campus later this week. I can't decide. I might go next week. I'll have to see what I'm doing. So I will definitely be on there at some point. Questions? Okay, so I will see everyone with thumbnails on Wednesday at 11:30. Talk to you later. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Hopefully that worked.